All right, welcome to this is the podcast. I'm your host, Earnest. EJ Christian coming to you on a Sunday night here in South Florida. It's kind of rainy today, but it's all good. Online, of course, Mike Bernier, Joe Lopez. Fellas, what's up? It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm glad to be back. And hey, listen, before we get into like all the super serious talk that, being on a wrestling show, we have no choice but to do this week.
That's true.
Y'all gonna help me pick the winner of this Cards Against Humanity round because I'm low-key playing a Cards Against Humanity round. Don't worry, there's only 3 of us.
Okay.
So, here's the black card, okay? You ready? What has been making life difficult at the nudist colony? And my choices are filling every orifice with butterscotch pudding, the Harlem Globetrotters, or drinking 10 5-hour energies to get 50 continuous hours of energy.
I'm the first one.
It's definitely butterscotch pudding.
Yeah, it's the butterscotch pudding.
Yeah,
We're all in agreement on the butterscotch pudding. All right, we did it, guys. Good
Content.
show.
Hey, content, right? Come on. I want to, obviously, we all got takes to bring in this week, interesting takes this week. But, guys, we were remiss before we go into the show. This has actually been a bad week of pro wrestling.
Yeah, it was not a pretty one.
Ugh. Like, scandals and injuries, and, I mean, I don't want to go into the rabbit hole, really all this stuff, but what story has really thrown you for a loop the most this week?
All right, so before I go any further, we here at Take 3 Wrestling stand behind everyone who's taken the liberties to speak out against all the negative things that have gone on in the past in their lives. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go and say who I think it may be guilty or innocent. I'm not going to jump down that rabbit hole because the courage that these people have had to speak out is greater than anything that, I can comment on because I've never had to go through that. So, we support those people who have spoken out, and yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. I feel you, Joe. What grabbed you the most? What story really kind of like threw you for a loop?
Yeah, no, kind of like Mike was saying, like, and I know we discussed this earlier too. Like, I just sort of feel like there's not much to say on that topic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That like there's nothing constructive to add because we don't know the full stories ourselves. Right. And we don't, obviously we can, the people where there's clearly guilt and stuff, we can condemn them, but I don't know that we add anything to the conversation by doing that.
There's nothing really constructive that we can bring up, like how to fix this or how to make it stop. Like we can call a spade. Joey Ryan, you're an asshole.
Right.
But we can't be like, sorry that this happened to this person. Maybe it didn't. Or how do we fix it? Like we start doing background checks. We're not in the power position to make that stuff occur.
I agree.
But the people who have been blatantly called out on social media with text messages and photos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's where the line in the sand is very blatantly drawn.
Yes.
And before we went live, me and Joe were here talking, and we made the comment. Earnest asked us who surprised us the most. And me and Joe both kind of said, like, no one really surprised us out of the ones that were listed. But if I had to pick someone to surprise me, it would be Travis Banks. It would be the accusation against Jordan Devlin. Devlin, I don't believe, has made a comment about it.
Right.
But I follow the person that Travis Banks was accused of being an asshole to, or pretty much a douche nozzle. And, she posted screenshots of some of the shit he said. And, that's guilt, but there's no coming back with a half-ass apology.
Right.
Right.
So, basically, Progress Wrestling over in the United Kingdom was working with WWE, with the UK brand, and they've pretty much said Banks is gone, Devlin is suspended indefinitely.
Is it what's his name also?
David Starr is gone.
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6 guys. Like 3 of them are gone, not coming back ever, including Travis Banks.
And these are all NXT UK, right? All this alone?
Some of them are.
Okay, some of them are. Okay.
Like David Starr is not NXT UK. Obviously Jimmy Havoc, who is undergoing counseling for his problems.
Right.
He's in AEW.
Mm-hmm. He's in AEW, but and honestly, a lot of it is, and I don't want to say it like this to ridicule what it is. A lot of it is the British independent circuit. David Starr was over in Britain and Germany for the last 2 or 3 years. Travis Banks, same thing. Same thing with Jordan Devlin and those guys. But I'll say that in this dark time of people speaking out, there have been a couple of people that I have to I'd be remiss if I didn't praise, what they're saying and doing on social media.
Like Pete Dunne.
Yeah. Pete's basically come out and said, guys, we fucked up. We need to fix this. And he's been very vocal in how do we fix it?
I feel like he's always been one of those voices of reason. Like anytime anything comes up, he tends to speak in a way where, you could follow. If you followed his lead, he clearly only has good intentions.
I've known him for the last year, but he seems like kind of an even keel person.
Exactly.
Him last year, yeah. So
he seems extremely down to earth. Yeah, exactly.
And only that, we have the scandal stuff. We also have the injuries. Edge got hurt last week in Backlash. He's out, I think, 8 months. They were saying,
Yeah,
that's a big injury there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they probably were heading for a rematch at SummerSlam or something, and unfortunately the WWE NXT roster is not going to get to see that one live. So
right, unfortunately, but yeah, it's been a crazy week. And all we can say at this point, as wrestling fans, podcasts, all that is, let the information come out. Let the stories play out, and let's see what's true, what's not true. That's what we can do. There's no point in judging folks. If there are things out there, obviously that are obvious, we go with that. But obviously, there's a lot of stories here that's still in the clouds. We don't know what's true, what's fiction, what's not. So,
I think one thing that's interesting too is that some of the stories are things that aren't exactly new stories.
Right.
There's things. Some of them have come out, and I'm not gonna say who or what or anything like that. But some of them come out that I've heard, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard that before. And the thing is, it's good that it's coming out now in this way, and it's good that people are finally being like, no, hey, be accountable, because some of these things were the worst kept secrets, but everyone kind of turned the blind eye and pretended some of these things never happened or whatever. And unfortunately, I think particularly in the realm of when it involved men, when it was happening to any kind of male, that tend to really easily have a blind eye turned to it. And there haven't been a lot of stories that have come out right now during all of this from male talent or, just male fans or anything. But there have been a couple. And like I said, some of them I feel weren't exactly unknown before. So, the accountability, it'll be interesting to see what happens from here, though. Because also, too, stuff like this has come out before. Even some of the same people that it's coming out with now, and nothing ever came of it because people just decided to stop paying attention to it very quickly. And hopefully this time, because it's so huge and there's so many things involved, they can't do that. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be swept under the rug. It shouldn't. Right. That's not okay. And so hopefully that doesn't happen again, because that seems to happen way too often in this scene. And I'm gonna tell you too, a lot of the stuff that came out, it was all, the British wrestling scene and stuff, but that doesn't mean that it's not a systematic problem across the board. And I think that's something, it's a culture thing, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, the truth is, it's not even a question that we can answer in terms of, how do you fix it? What do you do? That is a question for guys like Pete Dunne. That is a question for people who are, actually behind the scenes and dealing with the people who are, frankly, just being, fucking creeps, or worse, some of them are being downright criminals. Some of them are fucking rapists. That's an issue that they're gonna have to address from within. And what we can do as fans is obviously, any of these people that we hear about, if they're still showing up on the indie scene, don't support them. Don't support the companies that are booking them. You know what I mean? Like look, and I hate to again use names or whatever, but like low key, I've never been that comfortable with the fact that Rich Swann was working somewhere after like everything that happened with him when he got fired from WWE, because like, that one was kind of like, oh, okay, like that involved domestic abuse and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but guess what? Like, I feel like nobody even remembers that story anymore, and it's not that many years ago, and that's my fear. My fear is that in 3 weeks or 3 months or however long, that everyone's going to be like, oh, what scandal are you talking about? I don't remember any of that. And that's not okay.
Right. Mike, want to add anything before you get started?
Yeah, I guess just take an open ear to everything that's said from all parties involved. Don't sit here and ridicule those who are speaking out, because it's taking them an abundant amount of strength to finally bring their stories to the light. Just listen to them. I mean, you don't have to be their best friend, but if they're posting stuff on social media, like, just take it serious, because it's a serious matter. I know I'm probably not gonna sit here and get involved in too many more conversations about what's going on, because it's a terrible fucking thing. And like I said, I don't know enough about some things to really comment on them, and there's nothing I can really add to those. So I think it's just better that we all just keep an open ear and listen to what everyone has to say, and try to be there for those who are going to need our support for the next couple months.
Right. All right. So let's start it to the fun part of the show. Now we got this serious part of the way. All right. So I guess do you guys want me to go first? I mean, I'm assuming that based on what we're talking about today, I assume Mike's will probably last, because that's the more fun of the three.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
So let me go first.
Sure.
And my take this week is actually on Bobby Lashley. Now look, admittedly for me, I've kept one eye on Raw. In other words, I haven't watched a full Raw episode since WrestleMania. Like I watched.
You're not missing much.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I had the recaps. As I tell you guys, I watch 3-minute recaps on social media. It just keeps you in the loop with what the feud's going on, all that. But one of the things I really liked, and obviously this is because of the pandemic and because of certain people not being able to be there on the roster because of the either scared of getting sick or whatever it may be, or injuries, is the use of Bobby Lashley in the last couple months. And I gotta be honest with you, I love it. I think, when I've known about Lashley for years, but again, Lashley, first came to WWE in like 2006, 2007. I may be wrong about that, but
no, I think you're right.
Because the only time I remember seeing Lashley, honestly, was that he was like Donald Trump's like bodyguard, leading up to the Vince Trump match for Mania 23.
You obviously didn't watch WWE ECW then.
Right. I didn't watch that. I heard of him again, but again, when Lashley was on the scene originally, I was not watching wrestling at that point. That was part of my 17-year embargo. But as I've seen Lashley the last year and a half, he's been pretty much a mid-carder. That's it. I've seen his feud with Braun Strowman last year. The feud he had also recently, with Rusev and all that. And he's been pretty much used as just a mid-carder just to fill in the gaps, just to kind of, he's just there. Kind of like we say Savvy Vegas, just there. Right. And to me, I've always said, I don't know. Like, you look at Bobby Lashley, he's a monster. Like, he's a guy that, just by look alone, should be kind of like a Brock Lesnar type. Like, he's actually phenomenal. Like, he looks great. Like, why isn't he a star in that same way? I'm not even saying he has to be Lesnar necessarily, but at least that kind of like a prototype. And I don't know what's happened. Obviously, because of the pandemic. I mean, maybe they've had to change things around, obviously with the writing and all that. Since March, April. But I like this Lashley. I like this Lashley. And all of a sudden now Lashley and Lana are going to get divorced. Even though he lost to Drew McIntyre last week on Backlash, I thought he looked great. He looked like $1 million. I think Drew may look great. He for the most part dominated that match. And even in losing, he wasn't buried. I mean, he lost because Lana was an idiot and distracted him, and then Claymored. But other than that, the way they've been using Lashley the last month, 2 months now, I love it. And I miss the crowds obviously, but if there's a bright spot to WWE right now in the last couple months is that the Bobby Lashley is actually being used the proper way. Obviously, if there was no pandemic, this is never going to happen. Let's be really honest. They're never going to do this. But the fact that there's a pandemic now and he's being used in like kind of like as a top guy now, I like it a lot. I love it. You guys' thoughts on this one?
Mike,
I don't know if he was never going to get used this way, but this is the way that I thought that they should have used him when he came back. I've talked to Joe about this prior to us even doing this show, that I thought he was the one that should have taken the title from Brock Lesnar, because they could have built him up as the big MMA guy, because he was fighting MMA a little bit, and he was someone who is as big as Brock, so it made it believable.
Right.
But the reason why he hasn't been pushed, and I'm going to just be very bluntly, his promos suck. He cannot talk on the microphone. His voice doesn't match his body tone.
But couldn't you say the same thing about Brock?
Correct. I was going to say that.
Yes. Okay. But they fixed Brock by putting him with somebody. He can't cut a promo, so they have the best promo guy in the business with him. The problem is there's not a manager for fucking Bobby Lashley. Lashley's trying to cut his own promos, which have been god-awful.
I agree with him. I'm talking on that one.
Isn't that what they're kind of doing with MVP right now, though? Like, isn't he
they're
attempting,
they're attempting to
they're
do that.
attempting
If it works, and if it works, awesome. But if it blows up, it's a fucking waste. And I think this is going to lead to bigger things, and I kind of don't want to say this, but I think this is exactly what's going to happen. I think we're getting the modern-day Nation of Domination. I think it's going to be Lashley, Apollo, MVP, and the Street Profits.
You mean Profits go heel, or...?
Yes, the Profits go heel, and they turn on the Viking Raiders, because they did the whole Viking Profits against the Ninjas, and they're like,
I'm okay
with
with
each other, and I think it's going to lead to a heel turn from the Street Profits.
I'm okay with it, to be honest with you. I mean, first off,
it's something new for the Street Profits to do, too, because they've been faces their entire run.
Right.
Yeah, true.
By the way, could we say also, I was saying last year, being, this whole run has been really, really cool. MVP, man. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah, he's been really good.
Holy shit. He's been great. Just saying.
Yeah, no, he's a decent talent. I'm glad they brought him back finally.
Your thoughts on last year, Joe?
So, yeah, no, I think it's interesting, right? Because I think he is one of those guys who's always had the right look. And he's always, like Mike is right, he can't cut a promo to save his life. But, I mean, that hasn't necessarily stopped a lot of people, Brock Lesnar, from, you find the right recipe and you can still make the guy work. They've had their chances. And the thing is, I don't even think it's just them. Because, he was in TNA for a while, and I think he was their world champion. But I'm not going to lie, I don't remember particularly getting that into him during his TNA run. I don't know, it's weird, right? Because he really is one of those people who seems to have, everything. He seems to have it all, except for, the one thing that, honestly, is the one thing that you can sort of cover up pretty easily. Because, if someone's fantastic on the mic but can't wrestle for shit, you can't give them, a manager isn't going to help them. You know what I mean? This is one of the few things where it's oh, you can wrestle? Oh, you look great? Oh, you just can't talk. Okay, we'll just have someone else do that for you. Right. A fairly easy cover-up, I sort of don't know what it says for the fact that the first time in his career where he's actually starting to get over as, a potentially main event level heel is when there's no audience. It low-key feels a little... I don't know, it feels a little weird to be oh, he's finally doing it when there's no one to react to him, and I don't know that he ever got that over in front of the crowd, the live crowd. I think his most recent run has been the most over that he's ever been. Because, I don't know that he was the most believable, good guy, that they tried to position him as when he first came in, where he was just smiling and waving. And, then randomly he had his little ECW run and WWE ECW run. And, again in TNA. This is the first time where I feel they're even just embracing the idea of, guys like him probably aren't the good guy, Guys like him aren't the guys that people like to cheer for. They're the guys that people like to hope to see get beat up. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
He's definitely a better heel. It's not, I mean, just from my synopsis, he's definitely a better heel. I mean, he has that bounce, that club bouncer look. Like, don't fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? That's Bobby Lashley in a nutshell.
Right, exactly. And it's the thing, like you can turn that into a good guy. Don't get me wrong. Again, maybe with the right manager or something like that. But right, like it works better as a heel. It does. He really does work decently as a heel.
Let me ask you this, both of you guys, this: what's the bigger flaw here? And not to say Lashley, just in general, not being able to speak on the mic or not being good in the ring. What's the bigger flaw?
Ring.
Yeah, it might because the mic, like I just said, the mic can be covered up. You can just give the person a good manager. You can, you know what I mean? Like there are things you can do there. If you can't wrestle that well, like, you know who I can use as an example for this actually? CM Punk.
Okay.
Because when Punk was first on the indie scene, he couldn't wrestle as far as I'm concerned. Like, to me, he was not particularly that good in the ring during his, like, initial Ring of Honor run in, like, 2003, 2004, 2005, all that. I don't think he was ever anything that special in the ring. But he had good, but not great. He had matches. Good, right? And this was during an era where you had guys like AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe all having great matches. With Punk also on the card having decent matches, okay matches, sometimes good.
What stands out? In other words, what stands out?
Right. I'm not going to pretend that he didn't have a couple of 5-star matches with Samoa Joe. People, they had their series and people love those matches, but it wasn't to the level of like an AJ Styles or some of these other guys. But what he did have, and one of the reasons why he was one of the first ones to be signed by WWE and one of the first ones to be a huge success in the WWE from that whole independent scene was the promo ability. Because he could cut a promo like nobody's business. Like, straight out of like the Bobby Heenan camp of like how to cut a promo.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he comes to WWE, he gets better in the ring. He became literally one of the best wrestlers I think that I've ever seen in my life by like 2012 or so, 2011, 2012. To me, he's like one of the best wrestlers in the world at that point. And like of ever, at that point.
And you mean in ring, not just the whole package.
In ring, right. He became the total package once he was already in WWE. Because he was able to get better in the ring, because all that takes is, practice, work, and stuff. I don't know that promos are just as simple as practice and work. I think you have to have a certain natural ability that some guys just don't have, A
la The Rock, a la Austin, those guys just have a natural ability to just have that kind of magnifying, touching the crowd and all that. Yeah, I agree with 100%.
Yeah, some people can just open their mouth and tell a story like nobody's business. And that's something that I feel like you can't, like you can teach it to a degree, but not 100%. But like the actual wrestling, the actual in-ring stuff, you can teach that. You can teach that from scratch. Like you can take someone and teach them that.
I feel like you just changed your mind on your opinion, though.
What do you mean?
Because you just said that the in-ring stuff, the in-ring was more important. But your whole debate now is like you can teach in-ring stuff, but you can't teach promos. It's like you flip-flopped your
No. Because what I'm saying is that Earnest was asking which one is the bigger issue, like not flaw. Having the bigger flaw. To me, the bigger flaw is not having the good promo ability because you can't teach that.
See, I said, okay.
I see what you're saying. But you can cover that up with a manager is what I said. You're right. You can cover that up with a manager. Right. Okay, fair.
That's why that was my confusion level.
I mean, there are guys in our history, obviously, that were not really that good in the ring, but can promo the hell out of anything. Like, I mean, Hogan, for starters. Not great in the ring, but one of the most charismatic guys in the history of the business, obviously.
Yeah. No, I guess I did kind of convince myself into the opposite opinion. You're right. Yes. No, it's true. Like you can cover up the fact that someone isn't a great talker by giving them a manager, but at the end of the day, if you're still talking about the individual, like no one's no one's gonna remember Brock Lesnar in 20 years and be like, oh yeah, Paul Heyman sure cut great promos for him. Like that's not a pro into why Brock Lesnar was amazing. That's a pro into why Paul Heyman was amazing. You know what I mean? Like Brock Lesnar's legacy is going to be his in-ring work. It's not going to be, his promos.
Although I will say that because of Heyman, being here from the beginning, it comes as a package almost. Like you almost just take those two guys as a package in a sense.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
So we got about 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left in this topic. Anything else you want
to add? I mean, I think when you look at some of the guys who have been mediocre in ring but great in the promo game, it's really like you said, Hogan's the guy that like hops out to your mind. But there hasn't been like a bunch of guys who have been like really bad in ring. Hold on. What do you need, Bella? Okay. She literally just walked out and sat on the couch.
Hi, Bella.
Something. Everybody says hello.
Hi.
So no, like Hogan is the perfect example for the not being good in ring.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is how many other not good in ring wrestlers have gotten managers a la Brock that has helped them? That we can really remember. Andre the Giant had Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
But recently the managerial position has died with the exception of Paul Heyman.
Pretty much.
That's very true.
Trying to rebuild that with MVP is a good start, but they need guys to get in the lab and become managers as well, because they're going to need that, because there are guys in developmental right now that cannot talk to save their lives. And they either need to be put in a faction,
right,
or they need a manager. Perfect example. I love the Undisputed Era. Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong cannot cut promos to save their lives.
Adam Cole's the man, though.
In Adam Cole. That's my point. Those guys cannot cut a WWE-style promo. If you give me Kyle O'Reilly in Ring of Honor cutting a promo, his promos weren't that bad. You give me Roderick Strong in Ring of Honor with Truth Martini. Again, he had a manager then. His promos got better. Bobby Fish doesn't really talk because he's Bobby Fish. But they have the perfect spot right now with the guy who's not going to shut the fuck up in Adam Cole. The two new Samoan or Indu Singh that's there with Malcolm Bivens, aka Stokely Hathaway, aka Chuck Taylor TM. He's a guy. If you go back and watch his promos in Evolve and in Chikara, his promos are really good. Mm-hmm. Those guys probably can't cut a promo to save their lives. Oh, look at that. Makes sense. Even to an extent with Robert Stone trying to make a women's brand. You saw him with Chelsea Green. They finally figured out that Chelsea could talk, so they took Chelsea and moved her somewhere else. Right. But they put Aaliyah with him now. She's probably not that great at promos. Mm-hmm. It just makes sense to where I think that the point here is we need more guys that go into the business to be managers.
I agree, man.
To stay as managers.
It's a lost art, Michael. It's a lost art in this business. It really is.
Just to end the one note, who I wish was still here? Yeah, and Mike, you'll know who I wish was still here.
Hold on.
It's funny you said it, Mike. Go ahead.
No. In-ring wrestler or managerial?
He did both, but as a manager, I wish he was here right now.
He passed away already?
Yeah, very many years ago. 12 large, brother.
12 large, brother. We miss you, Larry Sweeney.
Oh.
Yeah, that
Ernest?
Yeah.
Go look on YouTube for Larry Sweeney.
I'll make a note of that right now. Absolutely.
He passed away very, very many years ago. He never got out of the indie scene. He was in Ring of Honor as a manager, actually, for Cesaro, actually, and Chris Hero and a bunch of people.
I'll check it out, definitely.
If he was still alive today, he would be in WWE. I have no question about that. Mm-hmm. He'd probably be either a commentator or a manager, or he'd be something, and he'd be huge. He left us way too soon. That's all I could say. But he was incredible.
Real quick, before we get to the next topic, I was showing Eli, my son, yesterday, Survivor Series 88, and I was showing him, the entrance for Slick.
Oh my god!
I love Slick, dude. I love Slick.
Speaking of Slick, watch Larry Sweeney promo, but then make sure you watch the Larry Sweeney strut off
Okay.
Actually, at
with Akeem.
at
Really?
King of Trios, it is one man gang. He has the Akeem hat. He gives him the hat, and they do the Jive Soul Bro.
Someone in the crowd who I think had the hat. Yeah, I think someone I know actually had the hat.
Literally, they throw it into him. They play Jive Soul Bro.
Oh god!
And they had a strut off, and it's the most amazing. It is one of the most. You will fall in love with Larry Sweeney. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You'll be so sad that he's not with us. Just like those of us who are fans of his are.
His charisma made him one of the most over guys, and his in ring work was not the greatest.
He was a heel,
but literally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, yes. And he was a guy who walked around with business cards for Sweet and Sour Inc.
Oh,
and
wow.
would go to hand him to a fan, the fan would reach for him, and then he'd fucking take it and put it back in his pocket and walk away from him.
I gotta see that.
And mind you, he was in Chikara at the same time as guys like Drew Gulak and Orange Cassidy, and like that's what I'm saying. Like, if he was still with us today, like, the moon would be like the limit. I think he'd be. I think he'd be on Raw or something in the Corey Graves role. Like, I honestly do.
If he wasn't in WWE right now, he'd be a Patriarch stable member of AEW doing something. Commentary, backstage, on screen, all of it. He'd have been an integral part in that, because that guy just he had the Razor Ramon oozing charisma.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next take. I believe we're gonna go with Joe now.
Yeah. And actually, part of why I came up before was talking about Brock Lesnar's legacy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of talk is obviously going on right now about the Undertaker's legacy, because I don't know if you guys, I don't think this is a spoiler, because, first of all, who knows if it's even going to stay true, because it's pro wrestling. But also, too, it aired, I think, tonight on the WWE Network. Supposedly, at the end of the last episode of the documentary series, The Last Ride, the Undertaker announces to the world that he is, in fact, retiring. This wouldn't be the first time that it feels like he is, quote-unquote, announcing that he's retiring. I mean, Mike and I were literally there when he left his boots in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania a few years ago. That's usually, a sign of a wrestler retiring. We were there when the streak ended, and that felt like he was retiring. We were there for the end of an era match where, him, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels were all supposed to walk off into the sunset, and that was supposed to be the end of it. And now it's like almost legit 10 years later. And now we're talking about maybe he's retiring. I don't know if it's true or not, but it got me thinking about this, and this is what I wanted to bring to you guys as my topic. I think there's an argument to be made that Undertaker may have the greatest legacy in pro wrestling history. And it's funny because he's not the name that you think of when you do a lot of the, the Mount Rushmores, the top 5. He's not a lot of people's choice for best in-ring work or best mic work or any of that stuff. But hands down, if you just look at his overall career and impact and the way that I think he'll be remembered long term, I don't know that there's another wrestler out there who has that level of a legacy. At least not in front of the camera. Because, I mean, behind the scenes, I think you can make arguments. Certainly Dusty Rhodes, I think, behind the scenes, you can make an argument. Because, Wednesday night pro wrestling doesn't exist if Dusty Rhodes didn't exist. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like today.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally the father of AEW and NXT. But that's behind the scenes. I'm talking in front of the camera. I'm talking about storylines. Talking about, all of that kind of stuff. I don't think there's anyone who has that legacy the way the Undertaker does. And my question to you guys is, well, obviously, if you agree with that and why, and if you don't agree with it, who would you put over him? Who would you say has a better legacy and why, obviously?
Okay. I'll go first with Mike. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I've been spewing some negative stuff on Undertaker on the show for the last couple months. Obviously, push you guys off all that. But I did start watching the Last Ride actually this weekend. I'm on episode 3 now, and I gotta tell you, I've sort of gone back to fall in love back with Taker again. Why I liked him in the first place originally. I think a lot of my negativity with Taker was more so when I stopped watching, I hated the gimmicks he was doing. The fucking roll and roll and roll. I hated that with a passion. Trust me. But seeing obviously going back to 1990 Survivor Series debut, and I was still watching then, and going through the different kind of gimmicks he did through the years and stuff, and then seeing the work he puts in and whatnot. Like, you say legacy, and certainly there wasn't a time where the company was built around him. Okay, when he came to WWE back in 1990. It was built around Hogan, around Warrior, and to a lesser extent Savage. Okay.
Yeah.
When we transitioned to the next generation era, it's the new generation era. It's built around Brett, built around Shawn. Okay.
Right.
He's still now Taker is still a stabilizing force. You go down to the Attitude Era, obviously he's built around Austin, then The Rock, and all that. While we will never say that he's one of the greatest superstars in the history of wrestling, the guy that made the company money. Without question, in terms of stability, not just on screen, but off screen, we hear the stories and the respect that these top guys have for Taker. Without question, he has best legacy because he sustained this for 30 years.
Yeah.
Without question. And again, we're going through many eras. Look, I was 10 years old when he debuted at Survivor Series.
Right.
I am now 40 married with 2 kids, okay? And he's still technically still wrestling.
Right.
That's insane to me. And he's still relevant also. Austin had a little pop here. Austin had a short peak, 96 to 2001, 2002. And in 03 was gone. Rock had a little peak also too. Hogan had a little peak there. But the sustainability of Taker to still be able to reinvent himself. Not being the tippy top guy, but right there, and always being the guy to depend on both in and out of the locker room. Without question, he has the greatest legacy of all time. I mean, the only guy I think I can even consider, honestly, is Ric Flair.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, I think with Flair, I think that he both stuck around too long and also was involved in quite a bit of, just bad stuff, bad storylines and bad feuds and stuff like that.
He was also in bad companies, too, to be fair. I mean, early WCW was pretty bad.
I mean, because, I'll be honest, I think that Flair loses a lot of steps in the conversation at the point when he doesn't stay retired after losing to Shawn Michaels.
Right.
I think that if that had actually been the, pin in his career, maybe he is a little bit more. I mean, obviously he's got the championships and the accolades and all that, but I guess there's an argument that Undertaker could also be towing that line. Maybe he actually should stay retired this time because every time you think someone's actually retired and they come back, it is a little bit more groan-inducing.
Right. I agree.
But it's also pro wrestling where Terry Funk has been retiring since 1993.
Right. That's true.
Literally, I'm pretty sure once every 5 years Terry Funk retires, and then 6 months later comes back. Yeah.
This is a quick Mike jumps in here. He has so he should have retired a long time ago. Look, he's gone, he's back, he's annoying as shit. I'll give you that. But at the very least, when he comes back every time for the last 5-6 years, even longer, at least when he comes back, he makes it make sense. If you know what I mean, it at least makes sense on paper through a storyline. It's not like, I'm back, let's wrestle for the paycheck. No, he's actually getting in a good feud with Cena a couple years ago, AJ Styles this year, obviously with the with the cinematic feature. And by the way, I've gained a lot of respect for Taker also. He is obviously a massive Metallica fan because, first off, Metallica was featured on that. I'm a diehard fan, obviously. Metallica was featured on the cinematic match. The song "Not You're Dead" that was played the intro and outro of the show. Then, if you notice on episode 2, when he was doing the workout, with working out with the ring and stuff, that they're working out for Mania.
I actually haven't watched more than the first episode yet.
In the background, he's playing "Injustice for All," the album. I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, yeah. I love you, Taker. So he's back. He's back by good graces. So just saying that.
All right, I watched episode 5 earlier today because they're saying it's released at 8:00, they put it up right away.
Is it true?
I sat through episode 5. There's a lot of really good things in that episode, and then there's a lot of really sad things that happened in that episode. And spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it yet, feel free to pause real quick and fast forward and all that fun stuff. Leading into this match, it was noted that they're at the Boneyard, and he gets a phone call from his his niece that his brother died of a heart attack the day before they filmed the
wow.
Boneyard
Wow, okay.
match. And he's got to call all of his brothers and sisters, and he's got to call his mom, and he can't be there for his mom. And to see Undertaker peel back that layer and be a human being and choke up and not really be able to finish the sentence, we put Undertaker on this pillar of like he's like this bigger than life character.
Yes.
That he's not human, and to see this part of Undertaker is absolutely amazing to see, because if you would have told me 5 years ago that this would have happened, I would have said you're out of your mind, because Undertaker's the most private guy in wrestling, it feels like.
Right.
Easily, yeah.
So they filmed the Boneyard match, and they actually show some of like the setup for that, which is really cool. So I'd suggest if you are into that cinematic, like the three of us were, to watch that episode, definitely to see that. But then they're sitting there and they tell us that Michelle McCool's nephew dies shortly after this as well from a car accident.
Oh my God.
So the family literally went through 2 traumatic losses while all of this is going on, and Taker's really in Florida trying to film a cinematic masterpiece for WrestleMania. So and at the end he says that, I think this time is the time where the horse rides off in the sunset. And I think he really is at peace. If that's the final thing that he gives to this industry, I think he's okay with it. The problem is he's made it abundantly clear that if Vince calls, he will answer, because Vince has always been loyal to him. So he's loyal to a fault at points. And I think that's something that some people, he should retire. You know what? I think Taker knows he should have retired. I think Taker knows he should have retired after the Brock match. I think he knows he should have stayed retired after the Roman match. But the thing is Vince has picked up the phone, and he would feel like he is doing Vince wrong if he didn't at least give it a go for Vince. Right. And I think that's something that's got to be commendable.
I will say this. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
It almost reminds me of Masawa in Japan, who sort of like knew, like he probably should have retired 10 years before he passed away, but he also like owned Noah and knew that basically like he was the only draw that he could trust. So he kept coming out of he never even like engaged in the idea of retirement, because he was just like, but who else is going to sell tickets other than myself? And obviously like that's what it reminded me of what you were just saying a little bit, because like obviously it's not Undertaker being like, well, who else is going to sell tickets other than myself? But when Vince McMahon is like, well, who else is going to sell tickets other than Undertaker, and then makes the call, and then he's never going to say no, apparently. You know what I mean? Like, I
will say as much though, like watching the first 2 parts of the documentary, say someone about Vince McMahon, everybody hates him and whatever it may be, but Taker makes Vince look like a good person. The way he talks about Vince, it's like, maybe Vince is a good guy, The same. Taker does a good job of making Vince look like a really good guy.
So I guess I can make a formal answer about the legacy question, because I really didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, Michael.
Honestly, there isn't anyone who I think has a better legacy than him. I understand that people didn't like his run as the American Badass.
I enjoyed that. Yeah, me too.
I loved it because it was different. And it
was one of the few differences that actually worked really well too.
Yeah. It was different. You know what other difference worked? Hogan joining the NWO, because it was different, and it became a larger than life thing. It's something like that makes it different, and he played that role really well. The Jeff Hardy ladder match from Raw, where he kicked Jeff Hardy's ass for fucking 10 or 15 minutes, and Jeff Hardy would not stay down. And at the end of it, he shows Jeff Hardy the like utmost respect by picking him up, and looking at him and goes, that kid's got balls or whatever. And that pushed Jeff Hardy. Like, he didn't have to go out there and have a 15-minute match with Jeff Hardy that night. He could have fucking chokeslammed him off the top of the ladder 3 minutes and grabbed the belt, walked to the back. But that wasn't Taker. Taker was there, and Taker never left. Taker never went to greener pastures or thought of greener pastures. But guess what?
And there's been stories about how he could have, like, jumped over to WCW.
Oh, Jesus, easily. NWO, absolutely, yes.
I mean, the rumor is that part of the whole American Badass character came out of basically like WCW offering him the chance to come over and just basically be himself. And I mean, this is a story I've heard. I obviously don't know if it's true or not, but that like basically he was like, look, I'll stay in WWE, but like you got to let me do what I want now, and I just want to be myself, who's basically just a biker. Like,
yeah. But the big thing when you think about Taker that's I think forgotten from a lot of people. When would you say that he came off the road every day? Like, when do you think was his last like full calendar year on the roster? Like
I can't answer this. You guys can answer this. I can't answer this, to be honest with you.
What do you think, Joe? Like 2009?
After Sean leaving?
Maybe? No, he was still there after Sean left.
But you're saying full time, I'm saying.
Taker. When was Taker's last, like,
full-time schedule?
Like, full-time schedule?
Full-time schedule?
Yeah.
Probably. It was in this past decade.
Okay. So let's just say that 2012, because we'll just stick a number on it.
Yeah.
So in 2012, so he debuted in 1990 in WWE, and we'll say he ended his full-time run in 2012. How many times did you hear Undertaker was out due to injury?
Right.
Very little. At all.
I mean, yes, his body is definitely broken down on him now, and he's definitely been hurt and had surgeries and needed hip replacements and stuff like that. And that's definitely a thing where it's like when you look at it, you're like, damn, that guy's body got raveled. He didn't tear his ACLs. He didn't tear his quads. He didn't have, like, a broken back. He didn't have arm injuries. The guy was always there.
Yeah.
When you look at a guy and his legacy, he never missed time. He was always the guy that was there, 24/7, 365. Austin missed time. Sean lost his smile because some fucking army guys beat him up. Fucking Brett, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Razor and Diesel, my back hurts, I can't wrestle tonight. But Taker's going out and having 25, 30-minute matches. Concussed, sore, broken. And what was his time off? He lost to Mankind in a Buried Alive match and took 6 weeks off?
Right.
Woo. And he had legit injury. Like, he missed Mania, I think Mania 10, but it was a legit injury, though, with a legit injury.
I remember being very salty about that as a child because I went to Mania 10 and I was like, what do you mean the Undertaker's not here?
Okay. So in the duration of his time, he missed one WrestleMania as a full-time member of the roster.
Amazing,
so pretty much.
He never had a year-long injury. He never had one of those, we tore his ACL, we'll see him next year. He never had any of that stuff. He was, for a guy his size to not have knee problems that affected him during his 20-year career, you have to really look at that and go, what was he doing that other people weren't doing?
And I'll say one thing if I have. Do we have much time left on this or?
Well, overtime now, so it's real quick.
Oh, okay. Let me just say one thing real quick. And it goes to the point actually that both of you guys were kind of saying. I know you were definitely saying it, Mike, too. I think part of the reason why his legacy is so much stronger than some of these other guys is because of how private he was as a person. Like, there weren't a lot of stories about his personal life. There weren't stories about him losing his smile. There weren't things like that. Like, Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time, but the stories about how big of an asshole Shawn Michaels was, for basically the duration of the 90s, kind of weigh onto how you might look at his overall, like, stance in the history of pro wrestling, Undertaker doesn't have any of that. Undertaker was mysterious. There was a lot that you just didn't know about him, until he, like, got his wife's name tattooed on his throat. Up until that point, like, you were just like, wait, what do you mean he has a wife? I thought he was just dead. Like, I think that all of that stuff goes into why his legacy, even just the WrestleMania streak alone, that's never going to be duplicated.
No.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Chance.
All right, let's bring it home, Michael.
All right, my topic, because I'm normally the guy that brings the serious topics to the forefront, I decided to change it up this week, and I'm going to be the laughingstock of this show. And my topic this week is your favorite theme song, entrance songs. It can be new, it can be old, it could be some of both, it could be none of all. I kind of did like my all-time favorite, like, including like the past ones, and I did like a list of my favorite current ones, because obviously there's going to be a lot of past themes that are going to be on the top of some lists. So I'll do my top 5 all time, and then I'll let you guys go, and then I'll finish with my top 5 current. So in no particular order, I have to say that the Legion of Doom, definitely the Oh What a Rush, and then the
yeah.
that's definitely in my top 5. As is Demolition.
Whoa,
Ooh.
I like that. By the way, same guy that sung Hogan's theme songs for the record, Rick Derringer.
Yeah, I loved the Demolition theme. It was like, you hear that and you're like, hell yeah, these guys are here to kick ass. You have to, I think you have to mention The Rock's. You just hear that song and you just pop to the roof.
Yep.
As much as like the song was like, after a while it became annoying. Randy Macho Man Savage, The Graduation.
Yeah, Pomp and Circumstance.
Yep. It's one of those things where it's like, you hear it for the 19th time, you're like, God damn it, not this theme again.
Right.
Like,
I'm okay with it.
Savage.
As long as the one from 1988 through 1992, whatever. There's simple, yeah.
Yeah, the tournament's a perfect example. You're like, God damn it, not this theme again. You're like,
yeah.
All right, but it's Savage. It's going to be a decent match. So you just kind of suck it up because you know Savage is going to have a good match. You're like, oh, God damn it, not again. And, I mean, I always, for some reason, and I don't know what it was, and it's the old, the other one's got to be the NWO theme.
Yeah.
Oh, God, of course.
I mean, that's just on like a different level.
That's another one too. That it was like, what song are we going to be okay to hear 18 times over one episode of Nitro?
Yeah, it's got to be that one.
Never got old.
It had to. Yeah, it had
never got
to
old
work.
though for me though. It's weird. Never got old for me.
Did you prefer the NWO B team song, like the one that
Yes.
Buff Bagwell would come out to?
Yeah, I liked them all actually.
No, wait, it had like that jazzy like doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the NWO B theme. That's all I know. It's the one that Vicious and Delicious came out to.
They were the B team before they were the B team.
Also,
Yes,
I
exactly.
hated the NWO Wolfpack theme. I hated that one. Wolfpack. Fuck out here doing that shit.
You're wrong.
No, I was always NWO Hollywood all day,
yeah,
baby.
Tell it to the back of the Wolfpack,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay, first off, you were saying top 5. Top 5 is not fair, and I wish I followed what you were doing, Mike. Going different themes, because I'm not even sure if the 5 I have right here is my favorite, because this can go honestly 20 deep, and I'm not even joking, because I actually. WWE theme songs are fucking my life. All time. I mean, I swear, I shit you not. Honky Tonk Man song in my top 20. Okay, I'm not even joking. Seriously. But my 5 here right now, and this can change tomorrow morning when I go to work. Okay, in no order. Stone Cold Steve Austin, obviously. Especially the updated one when he won the title.
It's iconic.
Yes. This is going to piss Mike off. I love Brock Lesnar's theme. Love it. I literally rewind every time I see him up there. I'll rewind a couple times to watch. It's like, not only do I like his theme, I love his entrance with it too. It makes sense.
I don't know why I would hate that.
You hate Lesnar, that's why. No. You hate Lesnar, so I figured.
No, see, you're misconstruing my frustration. My frustration is not with Brock. My frustration is with how WWE is booking.
Oh no, I agree.
Yeah.
My next one here, third one, is The Rock also too. However, which Rock?
The Hollywood Rock?
Exactly. Because the Rock had many different versions of the song. From Nation, all the way through his heel run, to his face run. But Hollywood Rock, dude, fucking amazing. Love the theme. Okay?
I had that as a ringtone on my phone for the longest time.
Really?
That's amazing.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
The intro with the
obviously Hulk Hogan. I mean, Real American. Come on now. Every 4th of July, I played that song. You know,
only on 4th of July.
No, all the time. Obviously, 4th of July stands out. I'll put a video out on social media and say, "Hey, Real American," you know, super flag.
Oh my god.
And I'm gonna go left field here. Jake Snake Roberts.
I don't even remember his song.
It was like the
I vaguely remember it because I vaguely remember it because I've watched enough old stuff recently enough on WWE Network to be like, oh yeah. But like, if I hadn't seen anything recently, I wouldn't remember that from my childhood. Right.
A couple honorable mentions real quick though. Bret Hart the updated one, not the first one, the one with his run in 1996, 97. That one.
Okay.
The other one, I love that one. Love Shawn Michaels' theme, of course. Not the one with Sherry. that was scary, Sherry. Sorry. And then what was I gonna say? The other one was the other one I loved. Shit, I forgot the other one. Well, current day. I'll tell you. Current day wise, I love Undisputed Era's theme song.
I like that a lot. I definitely see how it's like, it fits into that like NWO theme song realm to me, where it's like it has its iconic elements, but I do get kind of tired of it.
It's even better, but it's only great with Adam Cole though when he does all his old bullshit, boom, Adam Cole baby.
I need Kyle O'Reilly also playing some air guitar.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you guys got me into that, man. I got to admit, you guys got me into the whole Kyle O'Reilly air guitar.
Sleazy Kyle, you need Sleazy Kyle.
It's really great. Yeah.
You never have enough Sleazy Kyle.
I want to revisit this topic again down the road because this is ever changing for me, honestly. Maybe for Joe do a special Joe topic with top 5 AEW theme songs.
Oh my god! So, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are Judas by Chris Jericho's band Vozzy.
That's it.
That's it for AEW songs.
No Dark Order, no Best Friends. I love Best Friends.
No, I can't. I need that. Like, yeah, I low key love the Pentagon and Ray Phoenix theme song because it just reminds me of
Ray Phoenix.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the theme songs that WCW would have in like the mid '90s for like Johnny B. Bad and people like that. Like,
that's great. And Adam Page also is great too. But whatever. Next one. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, so I didn't make a list because obviously.
Because Joe, that's why Joe Lopez. Go ahead.
But I will tell you, I did put thought into this, and the thing that I decided is I really wanted to go with songs that were both iconic, while also really encompassing the character of the wrestler. So the kind of song like you hear it and you're like, oh, cool, I sort of get what this character is going for. I kind of get who they are. And I also wanted it to be something original. So, like, Macho Man's song not going to be on my list because, honestly, that's the graduation song. You know, like, Ric Flair's song is the song from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, that's, like, yes, like, you'd think of Ric Flair when you hear it, but, like, I also mostly think of Stanley Kubrick when I hear that. You know what I mean? Like, no offense to Ric Flair. So I wanted stuff that definitely was like, oh, this was aimed for the talent. This was, you know, like, look, Cult of Personality is one of the greatest songs that I think any wrestler's ever had the chance to come out to. But I don't know that I'd put that on my list, even though that's synonymous with CM Punk, but it wasn't written for CM Punk. You know, it fit him really well, and I'm glad that WWE spent a butt ton of money in order to, be able to use it. But it's still not it wasn't original for him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So with all of that said, and I'm not going to do this in any kind of order because again I didn't write it down. Like, yeah, hi. So
Joe being Joe.
You're right, exactly. Just Joe doing Joe things. You have to have Hulk Hogan's theme on here, right? His original Real American, because I sort of feel like that's one of those songs that you cannot be a wrestling fan and probably still have heard Real American. You know, that is one of those songs that has entered the lexicon of our society, and just everyone sort of knows that. Everyone knows Hulk Hogan. You know, he's larger than the business. And I just feel like that's probably one of the most original, iconic. That's one. You know how I was just saying about Jake Roberts, where it's I don't remember his song from childhood. You know, I can go 20 years without watching a Hulk Hogan match and still remember every word to his theme song. You know. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put Edge on here. His most recent theme, the one he's still using. Yeah, on this day. Yeah, exactly. That again is one of those songs that to me that if you don't know a lot about Edge or his character, but you listen to his song, I feel like you sort of get most of his character right there, which I think it's like the theme song of a TV show. That is kind of what you want. You know, you kind of want something that you're listening to it and you're like, oh, okay, we can roll with this, you know? Mm-hmm. And for that reason, too, I'm also going to throw in Edge's greatest match ever opponent, Randy Orton, who's had quite a number of really good theme songs over the years. But the one that he's rocked the longest, and he's still rocking, I Hear Voices in My Head, again, talk about encompassing the character all in one moment right there.
That might be the number one person that encompasses the character is Randy Orton. Honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I actually feel like his theme song has more character development than he does half the time. Like, just facts.
I like your list.
And I think, was that 3 or 4?
That was 4.
4, I think.
That was 4. Okay, so I only get one more. Ooh, that's a hard one. I'm going to just go with a personal favorite. There's no good reason why I like this song, but I swear to you, I could put the song on sometimes and just kind of like spin around in my living room, and that is the Bella's theme song. Because look, you can look, but you can't touch, right? Like, I mean, like, there's something about that song that's just so, like their characters are always basically supposed to be, like, the popular, like, you can't sit with us girls in your high school gym and in your high school, like, lunchroom. And I feel like that song, like, encompassed that 110%. And it's also just catchy as fuck. It is like Chlamydia. Which, you know, they may or may not have had. I don't know. But
wow.
Like, it's just a great song. And, like, I'm going to own my love for the Bellas at the moment.
All right.
Factually, the Bellas are married. Well, one of them is married to one of the best wrestlers of all time, and the other one dated John Cena. So,
done their job.
There you go.
They've done their job. Other theme songs I like going through the years. Let me see.
All right,
I love the Double one that you put it there. Go ahead.
I figured out my honorable mention.
Go ahead.
Rick Rude.
Yes.
Ravishing Rick Rude.
And by the way, folks, for people who don't know this, the one on the network is not the theme song.
No.
So really?
You didn't know that? Come on, you knew this.
I don't know that I paid attention to the one that they're using on the network.
It's very bad.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Deadass also too. I was gonna put the Wolfpack on my list, and then you insulted them, so fuck you for that. But also too, like the Wolfpack definitely at least gets an honorable mention, because not for nothing, but that gimmick entirely sucked. I mean, they literally ruined Sting, and I didn't know you could ruin Sting, but they ruined Sting. They were just like, how can we ruin Sting? Hey, does anyone have tomatoes? That is what happened during that entire run. But like, the only two good things about the Wolfpack were their T-shirt and their theme song, and their theme song was fucking awesome.
The two things only the Wolfpack was Nah and Thing.
Oh my god.
No and Thing. I don't understand. I hated that gimmick. I hate that.
Lie and
it was that. No. It was that. That was a point where I stopped watching WCW with WB. When they started up split,
like 98.
Goodbye. I'm going back to the USA. I'm done. So
I don't blame you.
Okay, so my top 5 favorite themes from today. Let me get into that before we run out of time.
Bianca Belair better be on that list.
1 minute. It's on there on the clock. So yeah.
Why would she be on? Yeah, I guess.
Her song is
I love her theme. What are you talking about? I love her theme.
Yeah,
song.
I guess that'll bump what I had at number 5. So I'll put that at number 5. Number 4. My favorite current theme songs. He's no longer using the theme because he's no longer in WWE because he got released during the pandemic. That was Leo Rush's new theme, I Came to Collect. That was catchy as fuck. I enjoyed it. It's on Spotify. If you want to listen to it, it's very cool. I like that one. Obviously, Judas by Les Champions and Fozzy, because, you know.
It's a great song.
It is a great song.
It is Les Champions. Number 2, I guess I would say, is the Undisputed Era. Just because, you know, you can never have too much Sleazy Kyle. And number 1 is going to surprise some of you.
It's Dr. Britt Baker, DJ.
Oh, God. The doctor's calling.
Incorrect. It is from the AEW roster, though, if somebody wants to
Can I guess? Let me guess.
It's MJF.
No.
Nope.
Can't be MJF.
Does he have a theme song?
I love that theme, though. It's Moxley.
Wrong.
Wow. Okay. Now, it better be Cody. It better be fucking Cody. Come on now.
He was actually.
Go ahead.
He was actually who I had at number 5 because
Cody?
It was in my head. Only because it was in my head. Number
Jesus.
one, and I found it on Spotify, and it's on my playlist right now. And Joe, you're gonna mark out for this.
Okay.
He is the Spanish God.
Oh.
I actually like that song.
Sammy Guevara.
I actually like that song though.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. If you put a gun to my head right now and told me to sing his theme song or hum it, I couldn't give a word of it or a note of it to you because I get way too distracted just staring at the beautifulness of that man.
Well, you know what? You know what though?
To even acknowledge the fact that there's a song playing when he's like entering my screen.
You know what? Then out of respect for Mike picking that song, number one, you get used to it. She get used to it now. Sammy Guevara.
Oh my god.
Hangman Page is also my top 2 or 3.
Hey, he can come out. He can come out to any song he wants to, as long as he's coming out.
That's what she's. Well, okay, never mind. All right. All right. Shout outs. I'll go first because I like to go first, and you guys won't anyway. So,
wait, MVPs? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, yeah, same thing. MVPs. It's been 2 weeks.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I apologize. MVPs. Welcome back, Justin Roberts.
Oh, nice one.
Gotta say, it's been great having him back. I'm not nothing against the lady that was doing. She did a good job, but Justin Roberts is Justin Roberts.
Yeah.
Okay, Gian, Moxley. Yeah. He said just everything. What was that one he did this week? I was cracking about. Shit, who was it that he was doing? Kenny Omega. Omega. Stop! Look, enough. Well, yeah, welcome back, Justin Roberts.
I'll go. My MVP this week is MVP. I don't have a good reason. I just couldn't think of anybody else, and I felt like it'd be fun to say my MVP is MVP. So there you go.
You stole my next week MVP.
Oh, every week's a good week for MVP to be MVP.
Well, the same thing she did with Bianca Belair like 3 weeks in a row. Remember that? Oh yeah.
I mean, she deserved it.
She did though. She's so cute.
I have co-MVPs, and we talked about one of them at the beginning of the show. It is the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, because of what he's been doing. Another one that I didn't get to really talk about that has come out and in a since deleted tweet on social media on the Twitter sphere that I talked to Joe about. And this guy doesn't want a lot of credit because he kind of blames himself, and I want to take this time to tell him that he really shouldn't blame himself, and that is the War King. It's the last of the dying breed. It is Eddie Kingston. Eddie's been a guy, and Joe can attest to this. We've seen Eddie a lot. Eddie wears his emotions on his sleeve. He was one of Larry Sweeney's best friends.
Yep.
And when Larry tragically left us, it broke Eddie. And Eddie's a guy who wears his emotions on his sleeve. And Eddie blames himself for not taking the appropriate actions and seeing things. And people have told him, Eddie, this isn't you. This isn't your fault. These people acted the way they did because they're terrible people. But Eddie has worn his emotions on his sleeves throughout this entire weekend. And Eddie really shouldn't blame himself for this. He looks out for everybody. He loves professional wrestling. And I just think that Eddie needs to know that the fans and the people that wrestle with him, they don't blame Eddie for any of this, and it's not Eddie's fault that these people made these terrible decisions, and he really doesn't need to beat himself up over it. So, much love to Eddie Kingston, and of course, Pete Dunne.
All right. So, fellas,
I feel like this is a really good segue because he's like Pete Dunne, and now you can be like, and we're done.
Fellas, great show as always.
Yes,
is that with one N or two N's?
It's two N's.
Spelled the same way as well done.
Oh, okay.
No, his name? Oh, wait. Is it D-U-N-N-E?
I think
it's the end. I meant the end of the segue, genius.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Anyway, okay, I'm going to sleep now. Fellas, great shows.
Okay, bye.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye then.